All right, this week on the big show, man. This is a very interesting week. Not a lot going on, man, but we're going to be talking a little bit about the Image Awards with Queen Latifah is going to be hosting the big show over the weekend. We will also recap an event. Wilson and I had a rare opportunity that was a non-film event that we hung out on Monday night, and we're going to talk about Cocaine Bear, my favorite film of 2023. We'll have all that and more on the latest episode, Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. Let's go. All right, and welcome to the latest episode of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. I am Tim Gordon, and as I said at the top, man, it's a beautiful day. Wilson, I'm assuming that it's beautiful in New York, about 70, 75 degrees?
The opposite, buddy. Opposite. Dropped down today to like 35 or something.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Because it is like, Charles, what is it, like 75, almost 80 degrees here in the district?
Well, when I left work today, it was 78, and that was at 5 o'clock. So it knows what it was during the heat of the day.
Right. Well, a good weather day. I know that the country there's an ice storm happening across the country. It's the great equalizer, man. Weather comes, weather goes, man. So all of us get our turn, man. So welcome to the show today, man. Very interesting day. Wilson Morales joins us. A guy I'd say all the time is one of the best working journalists, black or white, that I know. No, I mean, Wilson Morales is on the job. He's on the grind. I think Wilson's motto for Charles should be, Wilson Morales does the work that we don't want to do, but somebody's got to do it, and Wilson is out in them streets, man. No, I'm saying that with love, man. Wilson is doing some stuff that...
Well, the thing is, when you think about it, a lot of individuals do things that, like, there's only one or two or three. It's never that many of us that do it in different fields. At the end of the day, look to see what you do. Anybody could do what you do, but nobody else does it.
That's the point.
Yep.
Nobody else is doing it. Anybody can do what you do, but no one takes the time. Anybody can do what I do, but nobody else does it.
Yeah. Anybody, they could do the same thing that Charles is doing, but people aren't doing it. So
yeah, the more the merrier. But I'll take the accolade of being one of the few people that do things like that. At the end of the day, there's only one Ava because she does what she does. We're still working. We're still talking Denzel and Will all these years later because no one else has picked up the mantle and trying to be the next leading black man that we wanted to go see.
I got you, man. So Charles Kirkland, what about you, man? What's happening, man? Because I know people could do what you do and they just not doing it. How you doing today?
Just like I said, I'm doing all right. Got off work today and came home to find out the internet is out. So hopefully it's back and it's going to stay back. So if I start freezing or disappearing, you guys know what the deal is.
Got you.
Did you pay the bill?
Of course I paid the bill.
Wow.
That's gonna be the underlying thing. You're like, oh, the internet is out. It's like, okay.
Matter of fact, I complained and they gave me.
Or you lying to us and saying you have no lights, but you're using candles.
Wow. All right.
In fact, I complained and they gave me a credit. So hopefully, everything will be good.
Excuse me. Before we go off the rails, man, let's talk about a group that my good friend Wilson Morales is a voter. The NAACP Image Awards, who are having their big show this weekend out in LA, aka Pasadena. Queen Latifah, my girl, is hosting the Image Awards. So this is interesting because I know Dion Cole is hosting AFCA's Awards this year. Am I correct?
No, Roy Wood Jr.
Roy Wood is hot.
I'm like, you're so way off.
So wait, who is Dion Cole hosting? I thought I saw him hosting some show.
Wasn't he hosting the Black Rio Awards?
Okay, my apologies to Dion Cole. I could have swore I saw Dion Cole. So Roy Wood Jr. is hosting AFCA's Awards. Dion Cole is hosting ABFF Honors this year. I know. Yes. I'm not crazy. So I know he was hosting something. So Dion Cole, Queen Latifah, and Roy Wood Jr. are the hosts for these next 3 award shows that are coming up. I have a particular interest in Dana Owens, aka Queen Latifah. It's my homegirl, went to my high school, so I hope she knocks it out the park, man. Wilson, it sounds like, are you going to be in the house this weekend, or are you not going out for the Image Awards?
Why you put
Don't say anything, man. This is Wilson
not.
representing Wilson because I told him we were going live. Why would you eat in the middle of a show? So watch this.
Man,
if
I'm trying to
ass
pick
was on a podcast with somebody white, your ass would not be eating on the show. So I'm calling you out.
That's not eating. I'm chewing this thing that's medication. No, I'm just kidding. No,
Man, I tried to cover for you, Wilson, but he just put you out there like that.
Saying, like I'm not trying to disclose the thing that I got that's making my cheeks puff, you know. No. But anyway, now I will actually be out in LA, but I won't be at the Image Awards, you know, because one is too far from LA to Pasadena. Not far, but it's a little travel distance out there. It's like
so all that to say, with food in your mouth, that you're not going to the Image Awards.
That's not food. You know?
Whatever, man. All right, Charles. So before we move on, man, any thoughts about Queen Latifah? I'm sure she can get the job done. You know, it's she. I mean, it's not like she's unfamiliar with hosting. She's the host of 2 versions of her own show, so she knows how to host. So I think it's a cool thing. I mean, Dion Cole and Roy Wood Jr. are comedians, so comedians are always known to kind of keep it light and move the stuff.
But the difference is only Queen is going to be on TV. The other 2, we don't know what we're going to get because those are private events.
Touche. I like that. That was good.
You know,
that was good.
So it's sort of like saying the host of the other shows is no bearing because we're never going to see it. All we can see is photos that they take, you know, they give us afterwards, but we're not going to be able to tell how good of, you know, how good of a job they did outside of the Image Awards because the other shows are not televised.
Okay. I mean that's a point I didn't even think of, man. And
think about it. There are plenty of events that go on throughout the year where there are other hosts, but we don't hear about them because we can't see it.
Gotcha.
Well, Roy Wood is auditioning for the Black Reel Awards, but we just can't see him. So you know, they'll have to send us a tape.
You know, we're gonna have to get the audio version.
Yeah.
All right. So Image Awards on this weekend. Check your local listings. That's about as much as you get on this show with me talking about the Image Awards. All right, so let's move back to earlier this week. And both Wilson Morales and I found ourselves invited to a special tribute to Garth Fagan, a choreographer, the Jamaican modern dance choreographer, who they were now celebrating 50 years of his dance company, the Garth Fagan Dance Company. And Garth Fagan's also very notable for being the choreographer for The Lion King on Broadway, which we found out Monday night. He's choreographed, or as a Black choreographer, the longest running show in Broadway history. Is that correct, Wilson?
Well, yeah, I would say the only thing is you said you just found out. I already knew because I live in New York, so we already knew about that accolade. But you just found out about his status. Just wanted to correct.
Yes, I will. Thank you for correcting me. So since we're doing the pointing fingers game on who knew what, Tim Gordon, had met Garth Fagan 20 years ago. So I knew of Garth Fagan, not as the Lion King choreographer, but of him having his own, being one of like a minuscule amount of Black creators who had their own dance companies. Now, I must admit, Wilson, and I told you this, that was the first time I'd ever seen any performance of the Garth Fagan Dance Company was earlier this week, which I thought was really interesting in light that I've been watching Alvin Ailey and his dances for 25 years, and I've watched Arthur Mitchell at Dance Theater, the late Arthur Mitchell at Dance Theater of Harlem. I watched that, but that's the first time I've ever seen Garth Fagan's company, and it was a really. What did you think about the pieces that they did, Wilson?
I'll be the first one to say that I'm not so much of a dance enthusiast to know the difference between dances. You know, to me, it's just shadows, you know, moving and waving on the stage, you know. And I'm like, I could tell you if they were doing a version of what Ailey has done, or what I'm not a patron enough to go to see to know the difference. It's a good performance, you know. I've seen the people around me and, you know, ooh and eyeing, you know, but that's not my cup of tea.
No. And since Charles wasn't there, I'll just take it further. I was going to say that one of the people that was with us, Agnes Moss, Charles, who we interviewed when she launched the National Black Movie Day, sat next to me, and she and I both had a similar experience. I've been watching Alvin Ailey so long, so I'm really accustomed to the Ailey style of the lines and the precision and how they do certain things. This wasn't, I'm not gonna say it wasn't as polished, it's a different style. So you got African drums and mixed in with like contemporary music. You had them dancing more off of a technique that Garth Fagan kind of masters more so than what Alvin Ailey or Arthur Mitchell or any other Black choreographer did. So I wouldn't say it was bad. I would just say it was different from what I'm accustomed to. And I would love to watch more of Garth Fagan's dance company and talk to them about that. So Wilson, have they played in New York? Have you had the opportunity? Because I know you do a lot of Broadway. I
do a lot of Broadway stuff because I've seen The Lion King, which obviously Garth was a part of. But in terms of dances, as I mentioned before, like if they do it, they don't do it on Broadway. They do it at specialized areas.
Right.
In Manhattan, there's the Joyce Theater, which is on 18th Street in the Chelsea district, where a lot of people go and see the dances there. And from what I was told, one of the colleagues that was with us, he had mentioned, I think, that he had seen Garth being maybe honored there through somebody else because it happens to be a theater for dancers, so that was the right venue for anybody who knows Garth to do it there as opposed to somewhere on Broadway. But I haven't seen anything else.
Right. And then the other thing, I'm not sure, Wilson, that was my first time, not necessarily at the Smithsonian African American Museum, but my first time in the Oprah Winfrey Theater. Because we've been invited, Charles and I have been invited for years when they've had special screenings, and I usually always miss them, something happened. So was that your first time in Oprah's theater, the Oprah Winfrey Theater at the Smithsonian?
Was the first time I've been in that location. And, I wouldn't know. I see the name on the wall, but is there a difference between the Oprah Winfrey Theater and any other theater who's named it for? Are the seating the same? Do they construct it?
Man, I think it had something to do with Oprah donated some undisclosed amount of money to make sure that not only did they have that theater inside the African American Museum, inside of that museum, but she put her name on it. So
it's big
lettering one way or the other.
And it's definitely big lettering that you can't miss it.
Oh, you will definitely not miss it. That is the Oprah Winfrey Theater at the Smithsonian. So no, I thought the theater was okay. I really did. I didn't think it was, I thought it was okay.
You thought the theater was Oprah Winfrey?
The theater was okay.
It
was okay. It was my first time in there. So, and it was kind of dark. We came in as a group, and
a lot of space. There's a lot of real estate inside it. There's room for a lot to be included in there. Like if somebody created a sculpture or whatever, they can put places in there because there's a lot of space there.
There's a lot of space.
How old is the building?
So this event happened here in DC.
5 years.
So you're saying this event happened here in DC, or was it in New York?
This was DC on Monday night.
Wow, okay.
We came down to DC. We got invited to this, man. So it was.
I think you were invited, but you said your phone was off, right? Because your cable and your phone was off. I'm not sure.
Hey, well, it's a sad thing because I've been a Garth Fagan fan for quite some time. He graduated from Wright State in Detroit, and so I have family in Detroit. I've been educated in his style for I'd say at least 40 years, 30 years.
Are you a dancer, Travis? Are you a dancer?
No, I'm not a dancer by any sense of the word, but I've seen his work. I know his style. So, it would have been nice to see, but I have seen The Lion King on stage. And so I knew when I was going to see it that it was his work as well. So, yeah.
Well, I liked it. I thought the only issue with it to me is that the program was too short. I wanted more of the dance and more of the tribute, but it was a good event, man. It was really nice. And it was also nice to break bread and hang out with Wilson, because we don't get a chance to see each other normally until it's the holiday season and they flying us around the country. But that was another story. So
did I say Wright State or Wayne State? What did I say?
You said Wright State, so you meant
Wayne State. Wayne State.
I got you. All right. All right, so up next, man, we're going to pivot to the movie that I really want to talk about this week. And of course, that movie is Cocaine Bear, that Charles and I had the chance to sit next to each other and see earlier this week. And of course, Cocaine Bear is a dark action comedy directed and produced by, believe it or not, Elizabeth Banks and written by Jimmy Warden, and is loosely inspired by the true story of the Cocaine Bear, an American black bear that ingested a duffel bag full of cocaine in 1985. The film features an ensemble cast that includes Kerry Russell, O'Shea Jackson Jr., or as I like to call him, Young Cube, Aiden Eidenreich, Brooklyn Prince, Isaiah Whitlock Jr., Margot Martindale, and Ray Liotta in one of his final performances before his death. That movie, of course, comes out this weekend. And Wilson, did you get a chance to see Cocaine Bear?
Yes, I actually saw it a couple of months ago, and I thought it was an interesting type of film. It's Elizabeth Banks has this dark humor in her, which works. It has a certain appeal to it, and people, obviously this movie is based on, I guess, a true story, but and for theatrical purposes, and you got to go in there just to have fun. The story sounds ludicrous. You're just like, hey, I always say, whenever you have the trailer suggests the bear is going to be killing people. So it's a matter of who's going to survive and how, and when people get killed, do they have a memorable death or not, and it's sold, it is what it is. It's a movie you can watch, enjoy. When it's over, you come home and you watch the news.
Okay. So pretty much, thank you, Wilson. So pretty much what the story is about is that there apparently is, I guess, a cartel that is trying to get some drugs thrown off of a moving plane off so that they can get them to a local distributor somewhere in the Midwest. I'll just say that. I don't remember exactly where it was, but the guy throws about 15 football-sized duffel bags out that each probably have about 10 to 15 bricks a bag. And of course, without giving it away, let's just say he doesn't make it. But the cocaine is all scattered throughout Chattahoochee Park, where a 500-pound bear, gets hit with some of the cocaine and can't get enough of it. Hence, much like real people. He got a hit of that cocaine and wanted more of it. And the cocaine, let's just say these black bears are supposed to not be bears that attack human beings, but I guess ingesting that much cocaine and then on the hunt for more of it, and humans are in the way. Bear weighs 500 pounds. Average human weighs about $150 to 200. Bear wins over and over.
Yeah, they said that the bear was so wild and restless and couldn't be stopped. They started calling him Cocaine Montana. You want to play with me?
but Charles sat next to me, and so before you give your opinion, Charles, I was, of course, not a guy that likes a lot of gore and blood, right? And of course, when you got a 500-pound bear snatching faces off and killing people, I was like, ooh, ooh, ooh. But at the end of the film, I was like, woo, that is gonna be the Top Gun Maverick of 2020. It is the craziest concept for a movie, but I think it works because it's so
crazier than Megan. Come on,
bruh. Yes.
Yeah.
It's crazier than Megan, man. So Cocaine Bear, Wilson, here's the easiest way to say this. You and I and Charles, we watch movies every week, 2-3 movies, depending on the week. There are very few movies that I come home and go, man, I got to take you to see this movie. I was calling people up on the way home, Cocaine Bear, baby. That's not Yogi. That's Cocaine.
It's like, it's like I said, it's the Scarface of today.
That movie was hilarious. Charles, what did you think about Cocaine Bear?
I went to the movie. Tim Gordon is sitting on this side, and my son is sitting on this side. And I mean, these guys are having a a riot of a time. My son said that Cocaine Bear is his favorite superhero movie of the year.
Now, is your son over or under 10?
He's 20.
Wilson's missing the point, man. What makes Cocaine Bear so fun is that there's a great scene in it, right? Where our good friend Isaiah Whitlock Jr., who disappointed me because he didn't give out his favorite line. Like I wanted him to say it at least once, and he does it in every Spike Lee film, right?
Probably trademark it. They were like, nah, we don't want to hear you say
so
it.
There's a scene where the bear has fallen asleep, gets back up. Now he fell asleep on somebody, which was also funny. And the bear gets up and he's trying to distract him, and he opens up a brick of Coke and just starts sprinkling it. And the bear's like, ah. I just think that even despite the fact that this is based on a true story, to your point earlier, Elizabeth Banks probably had a ball. I could imagine if I was on the set when they were making this movie, I'd have probably been on the ground crying and laughing, watching all of this stuff. It's insane, it's ludicrous, but it's highly entertaining. And I'll say that much for Cocaine Bear.
From the opening scene when you first see the bear, and people are like, what's wrong? Something ain't right about that bear. A bear is grooving on a tree. And like from there on, it's just madcap.
If you go see this movie, it's about having to have fun. You're not going to get anything out of it. It's just like, yo, you walk out of there with a little smile. It's like, yo, the craziness that people have in films these days.
This movie reminded me in tone when it first started. I use films like I Spit on Your Grave, these late 1970s kind of crazy films. And I like what Elizabeth Banks did with it. I'm not going to sit up and analyze this movie like this is The Godfather or Citizen Kane. It's literally Cocaine Bear. It's in the title, right? You don't have to belabor the point. It is what it is, man. So I'm not going to give it a grade, but I'm just going to tell you, I would recommend you. We were doing thumbs up, thumbs down. This is 2 thumbs way up for me. I ball with this movie. And Wilson was talking about creepy ass Megan. Megan was good, and it's outlandish, but come on, man, this is gonna be hard to beat. My first quarter champion. And
hope it makes numbers, because if it flops at the box office, you're gonna be like, nobody saw it.
Hey, man, I mean, I got a feeling that if you mix in drugs and the danger of a 500-pound animal, I think that will get people's attention. It got mine.
Somebody said Cocaine Bear will return.
So yeah, Wilson. So we got that's pretty much, not saying that we're ending the show, but that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about, man, because I think we got about 37 minutes, and I know you don't want to hang around. So it's up to you, because Charles and I could sit down here because we're going to talk about some current events, and we may talk about.
I'm saying, like, you got this weekend coming up. You've got the SAG Awards. I believe the PGA may be this weekend as well. You talking
about the Professional Golf Association?
No, the SAG Awards, the PGA.
No, you said the PGA. You talking about the Producers Guild? I was being funny. You talking about the Tiger Woods playing this week? Is the PGA playing?
So he also had, the BAFTAs, in which they had a little controversy of sorts, because they said there was no, there was no person of color to win, or they thought it was going to be Ki-Hoo Kwan.
That happens all the time.
So it will be interesting as we, this is always the funny period, is that, like, there's so much of a battle to try to get nominated. And then, once you get nominated, then there's this late period of nothing happening. So for whoever's, like, leading in their respective categories to win, you got to be looking at that rear window and saying, is this locked at this point? Because you never know who's going to be the turtle. You think about last year, how Power the Dog was the one that got the most nomination, but then here comes Coda on the rear window, and then Coda leapfrogs over there. Most famously, Social Network, King's Speech. So the question is, is it going to be Everything All at Once? Could it be the Banshees of Inisherin? You still have the Fablemans, or could it be Top Gun? And then there's also 10 All Quiet on the Western Front, which racked up the most awards at BAFTA for a non-British film.
Can I just say, and Wilson knows where I'm going with this, that let's start by saying that as kooky as this whole process is, All Quiet on the Western Front is going to win Best Picture. And this,
you think so?
Oh, I do. And I think the other thing that's interesting to me is that I think that talking about the Academy Awards and film in 2022 is like trying to put lipstick on a pig. It was a bad. I mean, you could see Wilson is an Oscarologist, so Wilson will sit up here and give you stats in this film and that film. Wilson, it wasn't a good year. It's not like I'm the only person saying that. Like, this is not the first time you've heard this. It's not a good year for film.
You get this every year. You get somebody saying it's not a good
well,
year.
let me tell you what I know from, and you can back me up because you study it heck of a lot more than I do, right? We've had a pandemic in filmmaking for the last several years, right? And you had films recently like Nomadland that won. I mean, come on, man. When I think about films that have won Best Picture, right? I think about movies that will stand the test of time, right? I think about movies that when I say stand the test of time, it's timeless, right? Now, let's be honest. There have been some years, man, we're out of Africa. I guarantee you, if you walk down the street right now, or matter of fact, let's take the street out of it. I guarantee you, if you went to a screening right now and found 10 film critics and said, hey, man, when's the last time you watched Out of Africa? You know what the answer would be?
The 80s.
No, the answer would be zero. Nobody cares about Out of Africa. So
you know, the thing is, it's like, because as time gone by, and we've had a certain degree of advancement in terms of streaming services, networks. You know, there was a period of time when you had the 3 networks, and some of those shows will pick up these movies, and you'd see it once or twice, or so forth. And then I never forget TNT were running movies here and there, and then obviously these movies get sold to HBO, Showtime. Now it's not. Now that every studio has their own network, you know, like NBC has Peacock, ABC has Disney Plus, you know, all of Hulu, all of that stuff. It's like, if a movie's produced by a certain studio, it's only going to play on that certain studio. And then you'll never hear about it because we have options every day and they continue to grow. You think about a show called Underground, that when it came out, I said it's a good show, but you have to sell WGN, the network.
All right.
You know, you have movies now.
Wilson, stop. Let me jump in because I see where you're going and you're trying to dress this up. I'm gonna go through this and make a point for you because I pulled it up because I want to double check because I'm not crazy, right? Coda won Best Picture last year. Yeah. You asked me if Coda was the best film last year. Coda was a really good film, and Coda was enjoyable. I liked it. Would it have been the best movie of last year? Charles,
well, you got to remember, you also had movies that were coming back, or movies that were coming back, we're talking from 2022, or didn't have the budget to do a certain type of film because of the pandemic. You know,
Charles, stop Wilson because Wilson is going to put a spin on all of this stuff. Was Coda the best movie of last year to you?
I thought Coda was a strong movie. I really do, but
Was it the best movie of last year?
It won.
Okay. I'm gonna keep beating the drum. All right.
If you're asking me, was it the best movie of the year? I would say no. I would not have picked it as my best movie of the year.
Bingo. And Wilson Morales, who's sitting over there with food in his mouth, if you put a gun to his head, he wouldn't have voted for Coda for Best Picture of the Year. You would not. I know.
But I did.
Okay, whatever, man. Okay. Nomadland won in 2021.
Outright.
Best film of the year? I remember seeing it at Middleburg, and I was like, it's a good movie. I don't know if it's the best movie of the year.
I mean, are you asking out the best movie out of what was nominated?
I'm asking about the fact that when I give you the criteria, because I can tell you some movies that have won Best Picture in the past, and you tell me the difference between what I'm about to tell you. So, for instance, Schindler's List won Best Picture in 1994. Guess what? I have an issue with that. That was a really good movie, right? Do I get any objections? Anybody didn't think it was really good?
That was Spielberg, obviously paying homage to that story. That people wanted to see it. He told it right. Got it right. He got it right. What was the competition that year?
Don't remember, but I'm just okay. So wait, let me finish. Forrest Gump won in 1995. Anybody want to object with that one?
Shawshank Redemption.
What was the Shawshank Redemption?
Shawshank Redemption.
Okay, watch this. Okay, that was good, Charles. See, you're doing better than Wilson. See, Wilson won't give me options. Wilson will just tell me, yeah, man, it was this factor here and this. No, these are not. Titanic won in 1998. Was that Best Picture of the year?
Because of the overall.
It was.
Good Will Hunting was good that year.
Good Will Hunting was not better than Titanic. It was not.
No, because think about it. You're looking at the overall production of Titanic and what it had a good story. Obviously, none of the actors got nominated. None of the actors was nominated. Actually, no.
This is not the best actor race. I said the best film of 1998.
Yeah, but part of being best film is that you have good performances. That one had good everything in terms of the production design, the music, the score, the visual effects.
Good Will Hunting?
No, I'm talking about Titanic.
Titanic.
Oh, yeah.
I look through these lists of Best Picture winners, man, and I'm telling you, there's some film like for instance, in the 1970s, when for the most part, I think they got it right. You had Godfather win in 73. You had Godfather 2 win in 75. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You could potentially argue.
Ain't nobody who's they don't play it on TV on a regular to know that if you really like that movie.
Which one? One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we about to disparage? Are we about to disparage One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Wilson?
Who else was in the competition?
A lot of people would have picked Dog Day Afternoon, but I mean, I'm just saying.
But guess what? Jack Nicholson, Louise Fletcher. Again, I don't have problems with some of these movies.
Dog Day was good. Dog
Day was good. The French Connection is one. Kramer versus Kramer. I'm looking now. Out of Africa stands out because that was the year The Color Purple.
What was he?
Out of 11 nominations, didn't win anything.
Who was in a competition with Kramer versus Kramer?
In 1980? Oh yeah, well, that's a good one. Hold on a second. No, because I'm gonna answer that for you.
I believe that was the year Apocalypse Now came out.
Apocalypse Now came, 79. Yeah.
What else?
All That Jazz.
Look at you. All right. Okay, wait a minute. See, Wilson Morales should know this because you're an Oscarologist.
Well, but then again, I was like maybe 10 years. You guys are like what?
Man, here we go again, man. Here we go with that. You don't have to have been born to have done research. Okay, so the nominees for Best Picture in 1980 were Apocalypse Now, All That Jazz, Breaking Away, Norma Ray, and Kramer versus Kramer.
Norma Ray?
I had to vote. I would have voted for Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
But I'm not mad that Kramer versus Kramer won because it was a really good movie.
In today's world, would Kramer versus Kramer win? No.
If it was nominated this year?
No.
It'd be seen as an afternoon special.
It was Marriage Story back. It was Marriage Story, the original Marriage Story. That's what that Kramer versus Kramer was.
But you got to understand when you can't, just like you can't have athletes across time and compare them. You can't compare movies across time. Because personally, what year was Raging Bull? So Raging Bull lost the Oscar to Ordinary People. I can't find anybody that's ever seen Ordinary People.
Yeah, but you're like, how did Ordinary People?
No. When I say anybody, I'm talking about like, go have a conversation at work and go, hey man, when's the last time you see Ordinary People? They talking about the John Legend single? Man,
I know. The Ordinary People. So I saw the video.
So Wilson, what I'm saying about the Oscars is I realize that y'all, and when I say y'all, I mean you and the fellow Oscarologists, put a lot of stock in, oh my God, these movies are nominated for the Best Picture. I'm sitting on the curb like, bruh, if you study the history of the Academy Award, they are wrong a lot more than they are right with these picks. Because
well, I mean, the very next year, you talk about Ordinary People, Chariots of Fire beat out Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, I mean,
well, again, see, this gets back to a point I always tell Wilson, right? We know, the public doesn't know, that there are two buckets that films sit in every year, right? And those buckets rarely blend into each other, right? One is the commercial bucket, right? So when you make a movie like Avatar, Avatar is a movie that's made strictly for entertainment, and it shouldn't be a film that's looked at later in the year as an awards film because we have a bucket of these quote unquote prestige films that go over here, right? So for years, Wilson, you will know this, so I'm not telling you anything new. Movies that made a lot of money, they never considered those movies. Those movies are too commercial to be nominated for this. This is for like arts films, right? So the fact that Top Gun Maverick, great film, don't get it twisted, right? Great film. In a regular year, if this was a really good year and we had strong dramatic films, Top Gun Maverick wouldn't be nominated for Best Picture. It wouldn't be.
But because of what it did, and it saved theaters, you have to reward it for what it did. I think everybody kind of knew that, like, without
why is Avatar not getting nominated for Best Picture? If it
was,
is Avatar nominated for Best Picture?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Avatar, the one this year,
not for Best Picture.
Hold on a second. Okay, because Wilson didn't give me he was sure face. So let me just check this out.
But I kind of have to disagree with you a little bit.
You disagree with me?
I disagree with you in that back in the 80s, 90s, the big money makers actually did make the Best Picture nomination.
Avatar is nominated. All right.
I stand corrected.
So wait a minute. So let's look at the movies that are nominated this year, right? Top Gun Maverick. You got Women Talking, right? You got Everything Everywhere All at Once. The Banshees of Inisherin, right? So out of those first four movies, Banshees, Everything, and Women are all similar, that they're not big budget films, right? Then you got Triangle of Sadness, which is four. The Fablemans is probably a bigger budget, but that's Steven Spielberg. All Quiet on the Western Front. Think about Elvis. Elvis is kind of a bigger budget film, and Tar, right? So they're like three really big budget films that are in here. And then like the other seven are kind of in another bucket, right? So, Charles, y'all, we can go back and forth with this, but I think, and I'm not trying to get off my lawn, dude, but I'm thinking about the longevity of some of these movies, man. And I just hate to say it, man, which outside of Top Gun Maverick, I would give that film kudos, because I think that's going to be one that people will remember 5 years from now, because of course it's Tom Cruise, it's nostalgia, it was really well made. So I give you that one. But out of the rest of those films, I don't know how memorable any of these films will be.
I think film grows in time according to when you'll see it. Now, Tom Cruise is old school Hollywood. He's a magnet. You're going to always know him. Think about it. There are other movies when we were growing up, because we didn't have enough money to be going to movies on a regular basis, but you caught on TV. Maybe a couple of times when they aired them, on TNT or CBS or HBO, when HBO is one of the fewest cables out there. Now with streaming services, that you won't find these movies unless you specifically go out for them. So whether or not they stand the test of time, I don't know, because we'll see how often those movies are going to be played. Think about The Irishman. It came out a couple of years ago. And a lot of people would have seen it because it's Scorsese bringing back De Niro, Pacino, Harvey Keitel. But it's on Netflix, and the algorithms, it won't show up on your Netflix account, and it's sort of like, and it's not on DVD or VHS. So it's like, how often when they're going to play it again? So like the rule, times are different right now as far as when movies can find a life outside when they leave the theaters.
All right. Nominees for Best Pictures in 1982. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Chariots of Fire, Atlantic City, Reds by Warren Beatty, and On Golden Pond. What won Best Picture in 1982?
Read it again. 82. That was
Reds
no,
on Golden Pond.
no.
Okay, what won Best Picture in '82? Because I'm looking at the 5 nominees right here.
I said read the names again in '82. What were they?
Hold on a second. Let me go back because I don't know who won it either. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Chariots of Fire, Atlantic.
Chariots of Fire won.
And Chariots of Fire won Best Picture?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim, you act like you're surprised.
Oh.
That was Ben Cross. Ben Cross was hot that time.
Yeah. Chariots of Fire beat out Raiders of the Lost Ark.
And that score, Vangelis.
And so it's not that the popular movie doesn't get nominated. It's only been in recent years that a popular movie didn't get nominated. That's something that started happening in the 2000s and on. But the least back in the 90s and 80s, the popular movie did get nominated, just didn't win.
You're right, because the following year in '83, E.T. got nominated and did not win. Wow, you're right. So we reward one of these movies. The thing that's interesting about these movies to me, damn, he's right. The next year too. Damn, look at this. Right Stuff, Terms of Endearment, The Dresser, Tender Mercies, and The Big Chill. We've come a long way with these Academy. We have, because I look at some of these movies now, I'm like, bro, none of these movies are memorable to me. They really are not. And I think that's the key. Okay, look at this. 85 was A Soldier Story, Places in the Heart, The Killing Fields, Amadeus, and A Passage to India.
Amadeus, rock me Amadeus.
Yeah, Amadeus won, but I mean, we love A Soldier Story, but that's not a movie that the Academy. I was even thankful that they were nominated, and that's probably due to the director. What wasn't that Norman Jewison?
Norman Jewison,
yeah. So yeah.
So the Best Picture nominees in '86, Wilson. I'm just going down the line, man. Witness with Harrison Ford, Kiss of the Spider Woman, Prince's Honor, Out of Africa, and The Color Purple.
Again, Out of Africa, Color Purple.
Look at Wilson's face. You got nothing. I mean, you weren't voting because you were only 16 at the time, but come on, Wilson. You could even see the patterns, man, of what's going on.
Well, like I said, I think we all know that the Academy, there's a lot of politics in there. Now, to say that how The Color Purple, when you look in hindsight now, like how he got shot out like that, but then again, you've had films like Roma and Power of the Dog get a lot of nominations that they don't win. Think about, like, even though, look at the year Lord of the Rings swept those, it's like you knew they were not winning.
You're not
Lord of the Rings.
I know you're not going to equate Roma with Color Purple. I mean,
look at Wilson's face.
No, I'm not. But The Color Purple, seen by a lot of people, they know that Roma just happens to be a foreign language film that no one's paying attention to these days. The actors that were in the Roma, I think no one has heard so much. Whereas when you look at Color Purple, Oprah Winfrey had just begun her network TV show. Whoopi Goldberg went on to do, more stand-up in films. Danny Glover continued to do Lethal Weapon. So like Ray Dong Chung, I think the following year she did Commando. So like, those actors had gone on to do other things that we have seen, but collectively, like, they're in The Color Purple. And those characters became known. So like, yeah, other movies you can't compare because
when Roberto Benigni won for La Vie est Belle, what did he do the year after that? I mean, it's not always about what they do after. It's sometimes it's about what they do right then and there. And so I'm not going to say that he didn't deserve the Oscar, but they recognized him for the work that he did at that time, which they should have done for The Color Purple. And it didn't happen. So I understand what you're trying to, the argument you're trying to make, but it doesn't hold up. Now, a more consistent argument would be, if you want to talk about Roma, it's a Netflix movie that a lot of people may not have seen, and that's why it didn't get the love that it should have as far as winning. I'm not sure whether it deserved to win or not, but come on, it's a Netflix film, and now you're talking about All Quiet on the Western Front, a remake as a Netflix film is going to win the Best Picture Oscar.
Man, hey, stranger things have happened,
I mean,
man.
I've heard some buzz, but come on, I'm not buying into it.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
All right. Can I go back to 1991 while y'all do this? Because I just want to point something out. The nominees for Best Picture in 1991 included two performances in two different films from Robert De Niro, one in Goodfellas, the other one in The Awakenings. Godfather Part 3, Ghost, and Dances with Wolves were nominated that year. Now, I will say this much as we talk about memorable movies. These 5 movies to me, well, actually 4, because Awakenings I remember, but I don't think other people do. I would say 4 of these 5 movies are films that general folks still talk about 30 years later. They know what Goodfellas and Godfather 3 is. They know what Ghost is. And a lot of people, because of Kevin Costner, know Dances with Wolves and Field of Dreams, those kind of performances from it.
You know, Ghost had a song that had scenes. Dances with Wolves, it's Western, you know, the Western has a good appeal to a lot of people. And gang, you know, think about it. You look at, you know, Goodfellas, you know, the gang movies, and it was, you know, Scorsese, you know, and you had De Niro. De Niro was still Magnet. You know, it's like, you're going to check it out.
You had Coppola going up against Scorsese.
Yeah.
And 90, that was huge. That was huge. Neither of them won, but it was huge.
And Godfather 3, like, you knew going in, Godfather 3 was nominated sight unseen. Because you were like, wait a minute, he just won 2 Oscars for his previous 2 films. Yeah. You got to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, check.
And technically, they rushed the movie, man. I believe if they'd have had more time, you know, Winona Ryder was supposed to have been in it. She dropped out. He had to cast his daughter, who was not really good a really good actress. They didn't want to pay the $1.5 million for Robert Duvall, of course, so they had to they cast what's his name? Hamilton.
George Hamilton.
Yeah, George Hamilton. Bad mistake. And I just thought, and I thought it was a little repetitious of like the first 2 films, but you know, so Godfather 3 deserved a better fate, but all right.
But they did have some classic lines. Just when I thought that I was out, they pulled me back in.
Pulled me back in.
You know, yeah. The Joy
Zaza line. My brother. I love the Godfather, man.
I've made you money. You know, like, now I know how I'm treated. It's like,
all right. So wait a minute, Wilson. 92. JFK, Bugsy, The Prince of Tides, Beauty and the Beast, and Silence of the Lambs.
This was the first year, I think, in a long time where a popular movie won the Best Picture Oscar. Silence of the Lambs made a lot of money in the year that it came out, and it won Best Picture.
I was surprised. I thought JFK, man. I love Prince of Tides. I didn't think Prince of Tides could beat out the top 2 in that category, but yeah, that was pretty good. So Wilson has another. See, I'm telling you, years where they were really good.
I like Prince of Tides. I like Barbara Streisand doing that film. Nick Nolte was really good. You know, JFK, Oliver Stone was still at a height. You know, where he was like, oh, he's doing some good stuff now. You know, but think about it. JFK doesn't get played anywhere these days. Nobody remembers that movie like that.
Nope.
You know, neither does Prince of Tides. You know, in the good old days, you know, when it was still Showtime and HBO, you caught it. But these days, those movies are yesteryear. You know, those are like 4,000 movies ago.
All right, so here we go, man. 93.
But we're not going to do all,
on this wall. You need me on this wall. Wilson?
Is that a few good students?
You know, all you're doing is embarrassing yourself trying to be.
Yeah,
funny.
Please don't.
You don't know the name of that film. That's on you.
Yes, no, that was, like I said, Tom Cruise was good in A Few Good Men.
Look. That film, Unforgiven, Sin of a Woman, which no comment. Howard's End and The Crying Game. I'm not gonna say it, man. I've said it enough, man. I'm gonna leave that alone. But those
Son of a Woman was good.
It was not a good movie.
Watch this.
That was not a good movie.
Let me put it to you like this. This that
Why
was
wasn't
30.
Malcolm X nominated?
You're asking
Watch
a
this.
question.
No,
We
hold on
all
a
want
second.
to know.
Why wasn't it nominated?
Yeah.
Look,
Can you explain that one for us? Can you?
They didn't get the votes.
and why didn't it get the votes, Wilson?
Marketing, politics, you know.
You could kill the marketing part and just go with politics. Oh, and here's the better question: Who gave the best performance in the lead actor in 1993?
Al Pacino.
Not who got voted with the best performance. Who gave the 30 years has gone by, Wilson. Tell the truth. Who, as Will Smith said in Concussion, tell the truth. Tell the truth. They ripped that award out of Denzel Washington's hand and gave it to Al Pacino because he had been nominated six times previously. And
they
had
not
never
wanted to be
won.
like Peter O'Toole. They were like, okay, it's Al Pacino.
God.
It was like, Denzel, you got more chances. You got a little bit younger. You got more chances.
Yeah, they ripped the award out of Denzel Washington.
It would be another 10 years before Denzel got back to the podium, and that was by mistake. Not by mistake, because he wasn't expected to win over Russell Crowe.
Well, Russell Crowe shot himself in the foot at BAFTA.
Yeah.
No, remember he had some incident at a hotel in New York.
No, bruh. There's BAFTA. I can Google it for you if you want me to. But we'll move on because I got about 10 minutes left. The 95 Best Picture nominees, and here's Charles's contention. Wow, this was hard, Charles. The nominees in 95 were Four Weddings and a Funeral, Quiz Show, The Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction, and Forrest Gump. Now, I understand why Forrest Gump won. You can make an argument for two other movies easily in this category. Easily. Pulp Fiction stands up. That's a really good movie. Pulp Fiction is really good, and The Shawshank Redemption is really good. Wilson?
Yes. Classics.
Wilson will talk about
what were the other two nominees?
Four Weddings and a Funeral and Quiz Show.
Quiz Show was good. Your Name is My Name. Remember that line?
It was good, but I'm saying Forrest Gump won because Tom Hanks at that time, this is the first did they win to Philadelphia? He won the Oscar for Philadelphia the previous year, right?
Yes. Well,
yeah, so he went back to back.
Yeah.
Hanks he was invincible.
Hanks was money in 94, 95, man.
Think about it. He lost the weight from Philadelphia, telling the story about the AIDS dude, and then boom, he comes back. He's like, Run Forrest Run, that little accident he had, Robert Zemeckis, the score, Robin Wright was America's Beauty. It's like, yeah, all cylinders are working on that one.
I love Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump is a great movie.
All right, so here we go.
Technically, I think The Shawshank Redemption was a better film.
Shawshank Redemption is a really good film, man, and it holds up quite well, man. I love Shawshank, man. I love Pulp Fiction. I really do. I think
Pulp Fiction is a classic. Pulp Fiction is a classic. Bruce and Uma and John and Ving.
All right.
Tim Roth. Yeah.
Okay, so watch this. The next year in 1996 is really the first year where I thought the film that grossed a lot of money, and I thought it was easily the best film, easily won, was Braveheart. It wasn't even.
Wait. Time out. Forrest Gump made a lot of money.
I said the next year, man. The next year.
Okay.
The
following year
was Braveheart, Apollo 13, Il Postino, Babe, and Sense and Sensibility. If Braveheart can't clear that hurdle,
what did you say after Braveheart?
Apollo 13.
Apollo 13 was good.
It wasn't. Come on, man. You can run and you may live, but if you stand this day, come on, man. That speech is legendary. When he gave that speech, I was at the screen and I was like, Oscar.
Nah, he called me. He was like, "Come on, man, say the words." He was like, "Freedom."
No, you can take my life, but you can't take my freedom.
Nah, it's like, I can lie. It's like I always say, "You fought with William Wallace." Now
hey, man.
Dude, Brendan Gleeson pulls out the sword. He was like, "Yeah."
So wait a minute. Here's another miscarriage of justice in 1997. Are you telling me Did the English Patient win the Oscar, or was that Fargo that won in '97 for Best Picture?
English Patient beat out Fargo and Jerry Maguire that year.
It was a good one, based on a novel, I believe.
Man, I watched that movie 3 times, and I can't tell you to this day that I ever didn't fall asleep any of the 3 times.
I will confess that I have never watched The English Patient. Never watched it.
Shakespeare in Love.
Oh,
out of Africa. Oh, we getting ready to get there. Because Shakespeare in Love.
We got like 10 minutes. We gotta wrap it up at some point.
We should. No, we're gonna wrap it up in 5 minutes. So we'll skip ahead and say the year of '98 was really interesting because in '98 we got 4 minutes. You had Titanic, The Full Monty, Good Will Hunting, L.A. Confidential, and As Good as It Gets.
Yeah, all of them were good. L.A. Confidential.
The Full Monty was good, but The Full Monty did not belong in the same class. L.A. Confidential was money. Good Will Hunting, money. Titanic, money. Those 3 movies right there, money. Still remembered to this day.
Titanic,
how about them apples?
Titanic, the money earner of the year that year, and won the Oscar.
Come on, man. Of course. The next year, you still can't convince me ever that Saving Private Ryan was not better than Shakespeare in Love. I'm just saying. You can't. Just like you can't convince me that Al Pacino was better than Denzel Washington the year that they went up against each other, or Casey Affleck versus Denzel Washington. Wilson had a vote, so I guess you voted for Casey Affleck too that year, huh? The Manchester by the Sea versus Fences year.
I don't remember now.
You literally know that was like 4 years ago, right? 4 or 5 years ago.
That was like 400 movies ago. I don't remember what my vote was.
Yeah, but so I say all that to say, as we about to wrap it up, man, that to my point, and I think you both would agree, that there's arguments that can be made every year when it comes to Best Picture nominees, which is why I think for the most part, when people put so much stock into what's a Best Picture Oscar winner, sometimes it's the film that didn't win that goes on and becomes more legendary. So we didn't get as far back as the mid-'70s when we went to the Rocky year, but the Rocky year was the year of All the President's Men, Network. Now, again, those movies aren't playing on television, but if you go back and do some research and watch either of those 2 films, they are really good movies.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I think over the years, we've gotten to start recognize more independent films. A lot of those movies were big studio films, big names, big attraction. Then all of a sudden, the indie world started rising up and having much more of a bigger vote.
I got you. I mean, and that's legitimate, man. I mean, I think if you go back to anything pre-19, I would say 1970, it's all studios. There's no independent films that are nominated for the Academy Awards. It's all studio fare. And
Which is no different like the Emmys when it used to be just the networks, and then all of a sudden HBO cracked in, then Showtime cracked in, and then boom, now for the last 10 plus years, it's all been network and then streaming. It's all been cable and streaming. And so that changed the model of a lot of these shows in terms of TV, where they didn't feel compelled to do 23 episodes now, because you see these streaming shows doing 10 episodes and cleaning house. Cleaning house based on 10 episodes, where they're doing 23. We're losing our fan base. They're no longer being attracted. Same thing like movies. Like, what are getting people to watch these days? Like when people say the ratings are down because you no longer. A colleague, Mike Sargent, said something to the point where people watch the Oscars and the ratings because they want to see stars that they can't see elsewhere. But because we have social media, you get to see. If you want to see what your favorite actor is doing now, just go online. Where before the social media, you rarely saw any of your favorite actors. So you wanted to see them on the stage. You wanted to sit back home and watch who's wearing what and get a little glimpse into their real life personality on the red carpet. I remember watching Titanic because I wanted to hear Celine Dion sing that song because she had not sang it anywhere else outside of the movie. Yeah. Same thing like Lady Gaga when she sang her song from A Star Is Born. Outside of what she did in Vegas previously, people wanted to see that. Sometimes, so that's why we have yet to see Rihanna sing that Black Panther song anywhere else.
And she will sing it at the Oscars, and we've got 30 seconds to go. And thank you, Wilson.
She did a part of it at the Super Bowl.
She did. So We've got 30 seconds to go. I want to thank Wilson Morales and Charles Kirkland. Remember to subscribe to the show so that you hear more of our banter that
Hit
you
the like
may or may
button.
not like. Until next week, we will see you guys. As we tell you every week in closing, please see something good at the movies. Until next time, you guys take care. Enjoy your evening, gentlemen.
Okay,
Fair enough.
there.